November 20th. I'm finally done pet sitting. So that means we can actually look at the physical book. And first off, just holding, this is book 1, this is book 2, which is what we're currently on, just looking at them, you can perfectly fit book 1 in between here, and the pages seem to line up pretty exactly, despite the hardcover on this thing making it look a tiny bit bigger. Just a tiny bit, like not even a lot, just a little bit bigger. This one is a centimeter. I am too lazy to find a ruler to measure this one. But we are going to be comparing at least the physical copies to see, because if for all of the people clicking on these at random instead of going to the start of the playlist, which is a lot of people, you're missing out on a bunch of context. So book 1 is an absolute scam, huh?
I said not just book context.
You have to read.
Context.
You have to talk louder because the fan's on. Twin 2 says from behind the cardboard, not just book context, critique context of all of the history of the publishing and going into this and the choices that the publisher and along with them the author, because she agreed to this shit. So if you weren't here at the start of this thing, click on video 1, because I don't feel like having to explain it all again. But short version is, this is filled with so many goddamn blank pages and massive margins at the bottom of every single page to try and stretch out the story to make it seem longer than it really is. And after pulling out all the stops to make it seem longer, the very best they could do is this shit. They were charging $15.99 for this, aka $16 before tax and shipping if you're buying it from somewhere that it's getting shipped. So that was book 1. You can stick this in the cupboard over there so nobody claws it. I will say, unfortunately, there's itty-bitty little kitten claw marks on this. You might not be able to see. It adds character. Feral kittens rescued in 2025. So, this cover, I know some of the other ones are disgusting. This one's not too bad. This one's all of the ones we have are used copies. We got them from either physically at the Goodwill or from Goodwill's bookstore or just the just various online thrift stores for books. So this one, it's got a cool gold and black color scheme. Too bad that doesn't have a single thing to do with the story or any kind of theme at all. It's just, also this cover is completely fucking meaningless. Let me actually hold that up so you can see it. Okay, so as always, we have to talk about, before we even get into the story, now that I actually, if you missed the memo because you're here at random instead of, go to the description, at least, it should be in the description. It depends on how long it takes YouTube to upload it so that I can edit it in. Go to the description of the video. It should have a link to every single other video in this playlist in order. Click on the first video and just watch the playlist in order so you are caught up with everything. But anyways, for people who are here and know all the shit already, we do have to, again, I am morally obligated to point out the racism and white supremacy. This is diversity baiting. This is our protagonist, Murderbot. And you notice that despite the fact that it explicitly does not have access to this armor anymore that it had in book 1, because it had to leave that behind, it's still being portrayed in that fucking armor on the cover, and the reason for that is that this gives Martha Wells plausible deniability, so she can literally spend years telling everybody online that it's a black person, and literally has the darkest fucking skin tone of all of the entire Preservation Aux crew. But now, because she hasn't actually said that in the books, because it's very purposeful diversity baiting and giving her plausible deniability, because look, it's not shown as having dark skin. You can't just say it's black. You're just making that up. Ignore all of the interviews where the author has said that in response to people, and the fact that it's on her own website, or not her own website, Dream Journal, something like that. I don't fucking know. Not MySpace. I don't think MySpace exists anymore. Yeah, the reason that Murderbot because I had to explain this to somebody else a few months ago because they were also confused about why Murderbot is constantly shown in armor on the covers of the books despite it explicitly never having that armor after book 1. And it's literally just plausible deniability because Martha Wells has been telling everyone that Murderbot is a black person this whole fucking time because that makes her seem progressive and makes her seem like somebody who's not a white supremacist. But because she doesn't put that shit in the book in writing, it's like with a fucking lawyer. Don't ever trust an author who only tells you this supposed diversity shit. This is the exact same shit J.K. Rowling did. But people want to pretend that when Martha Wells does it, it's progressive. So...
Dumbledore was gay.
Yeah, Dumbledore was totally gay, everybody. I mean, you did see that coming, to be fair. But, like,
I was
not...
apparently the only one.
Apparently,
and also
yeah.
that was just in a homophobic way.
Yeah, just in a homophobic way. Anyways, yeah. The reason Murderbot is always in armor is because that means Martha Wells can tell everybody online in so many fucking interviews, yeah, it's a black person, it's got brown skin, it's totally a person of color, but then, because it's not in writing in the book itself, she gets to have plausible deniability for when Apple decides to pay her off to let them whitewash and ciswash Murderbot, not just with any white person, a cis white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. Taking Murderbot, a black, non-binary person, and casting a cis white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. That's exactly why Murderbot is always in the armor. Because that means that white supremacists like Martha Wells can pick up the book and pretend that Murderbot has been a cis white man with blonde hair and blue eyes this whole entire fucking time. But Martha Wells doesn't have to actually put in any effort besides just saying in interviews, explicitly not included in the book, that it's definitely a person of color. I'm totally not racist. This is a really diverse story. I totally care about people of color and representing them. Anyways, that's about the armor. Let's zoom back. Exactly what the fuck is supposed to be going on in this scene? Because Murderbot is standing out in space, presumably. I don't know where else the fuck that could be, considering there's a giant spaceship that is presumably art overhead. So this is not a scene from this book, and it's not a scene from any book after this or before it. This is just nothing. Nothing. It's nothing.
It exists.
This is like, I don't know. This is like, I'm trying to think of something that hasn't happened in Pokemon. This is like if there were a Pokemon book, but the Pokemon anime with Ash, and on the cover it showed Ash, I don't know, going to the moon and being an astronaut on the moon. Like, this art.
That didn't happen in the next.
Huh?
I said, and then that didn't happen in the next.
Yeah, and then that doesn't ever happen. This is meaningless. This isn't showing a literal scene that happens, and it's also not conveying anything emotionally. It's not representing anything symbolically. It's just Murderbot standing in space, which is also, I guess, super smoky and orange, and then Art is somehow also there, and Art's supposed to be massive, so Art has to be really far back to look that small. So, like, Murderbot standing here, and then Art is, like, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands or more feet back. And this is just completely meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. At no point does Murderbot stand anywhere and look out across any kind of distance while Art is also there, in the background, floating dramatically overhead. Very blatantly a gunship because it's covered in guns. No, this doesn't happen. So, again, I've gone on and on about the title being meaningless, but like also the whole art, it's just also meaningless. Yeah. This Hugo and Nebula award-winning series, finding out that this book series won awards, and specifically won the Hugo and Nebula awards, I now know forever that nothing that wins those awards means anything, because those are just completely fucking meaningless. If the Murderbot Diaries, especially book 1, can win an award from the Hugo and Nebula whatever, then those awards are completely meaningless, because if you missed it, go back and watch the entire series. That's why I'm putting all of this effort in. You can at least put in half the effort of watching it. Or just go read the fucking transcripts if you would rather read the transcripts. If you can read faster, then I can talk. That's what the transcripts are for. On a note, I'm not done editing the one for the last video yet because my laptop keeps getting shut down by the cats. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the solution to the plot in book 1 was that they literally told the bad guys, hey, we're gonna blow up your nuclear bomb over there. And then the bad guys instantly started panicking, despite having no evidence that the good guys could actually pull this off. And then the bad guys literally instantaneously sprinted over to stand directly in front of the nuclear bomb that they were just told was going to explode. And then they just stand there and stare at the bomb until it literally does explode. And that's how all of the bad guys die and the good guys, quote unquote, win. Because they told the bad guys a bomb was going to explode, so the bad guys literally ran to stare at it and not do anything until it exploded and killed them. And if you tell 99.99 repeating % of the people in this fandom that that's how that plot ended, they're going to be like, just baffled because nobody understood what the fuck was going on there. So, like, the reaction is gonna be no, that it couldn't have been that. It had to have been something that made sense, right? I mean, I didn't understand what was going on there, but it had to make sense, right? And then the other people are gonna be like, yeah, that may as well just be what happened because nothing else made sense in that story. Anyways, for the price of this book, it's $1 more than the first book, despite both of their pages lining up exactly. It's $16.99 for the U.S., $22.50 for Canada. It was, I should say, because undoubtedly the prices are going to go up. This is the one that was published in 2018. As I said, the inside's got a cool black and gold color scheme going on, but that's completely fucking meaningless. So we will see if they're gonna do the scanning thingy. We have the blank, thick, gold page. Well, we won't I will be generous, and I won't count that towards the inside of the book scamminess, because that's just there to protect the pages. That's fine. I see. Do you see how generous I'm being? Alright, so for the pages, before the story starts, we have a blank page that just says, Artificial Condition, the Murderbot Diaries, and nothing else. I will note that the pages are so thin that the text on the other side is showing through very clearly, even when, you can see that. It looks almost like there's a misprint on this side of the page. So that's not quality at all. Like, even when the page is sitting down, no light shining through it, you can very clearly see. I could probably read what's on the other page. It's listing off the cloud roads, the blah blah, all that shit. The next page, I can already tell, is other books. Yes, correct. Also by Martha Wells. Next one is, and they're doing this shit again. But at least here, they've put these things over on this page. Theoretically, they could have fit them over here, but this is at least a good-sized font. And their spacing is not horrific. See, I'm being nice. I'm not just picking at things for no reason. See, like, this is reasonable. Although I would say that this being in the middle of the page like this looks really weird. They should have just shifted it up here so that it lines up, because it's weird looking like that. But, like, so far so good. Then the back of that is a blank page, and then it's the Artificial Condition title page on the back of that, instead of having another blank page. And the back of that one, and you can literally still see the title showing through, even when the book is in shadow and there's no light shining through the paper. You can tell it literally says Artificial Condition right here. But this is the copyright page. And then again, we have another page that's all but blank with Artificial Condition at the top. But this is still a massive fucking improvement to the first book, where they had so many fucking blank pages here. On the back of that page, it is blank, and then we get chapter 1. See, like, even that, I'm fine with that. because it's usually considered good to have your chapter start on this side of the book instead of this side, because it's just, I don't know why they do it. It just makes it easier to read, I guess. Alright, so that's chapter 1. Of course, again, see, now I have to stop being nice. They're counting all of the pages that are not the story, and they're counting them as being part of the fucking story. So, exactly like book 1, we're pretending that page 1 is actually page 9. So, whatever page count is listed at the back of the book, let's see. At the back of the book, we have another blank gold page. That's totally fine. That's there to be decorative and protective. That's totally fine. We have an about the author with a blank page on the other side. Again, that's fine, because you usually don't want just random shit facing the end of the book, so that's fine. Oh, okay, cool. And it looks like that is actually that's all that's at the back of the book. So this is an improvement from book 1 as far as let's literally insert blank pages and of bullshit everywhere we possibly can to make this seem longer than it is. So it's an improvement, but not by much. It is claiming that it has 158 pages, even though we are starting on they're calling page 1 page 9, so, and then they're claiming it ends on page 158, which means it's actually 149. Let me just skim and not look at the chapter, not look at the text. Look for a random chapter, see if there's blank page. Yep. Wait. Nope. Okay, they did that correctly for whatever chapter that was. I'm not looking at the text, I'm just looking for chapter titles to see if they are inserting entire full blank pages in front of the chapters. Because anybody who's read books for a while knows that when you get to a chapter, you do a page break at the end of the text of the next one so that your next chapter is always starting on a new page. That's fine. That's normal. Seems to be happening in here. I'm going out of my way not to actually focus on the text. See, like, this here, we end it here, and then we have a blank page on this side. Again, that's fine, because chapters usually meant to start here, but the other one, they were literally inserting entire blank pages. But, like, yeah. It's a slight improvement. Actually, I think that's the chapter that we are on. Because I think we're on chapter 4, so I can actually go here. Oh yeah, because this is where I had to stop. Okay, so yeah, we are on chapter 4. Again, if you're watching this instead of watching the videos in order at random, when I was pet sitting, I forgot to bring the actual book with me, so I was using the ebook that I got from Humble Bundle, where I donated $18 to World Kitchen and $0 to this fucking publisher because they're shit. And I got all of the ebooks for free, plus some other extremely racist books for free. And then they also lied about it being the entire Illyrian series, but it's only 2 fucking books, even though there's 3 fucking books in the Fall of Illyrian series, and also a collection of short stories set in that universe. So where the fuck are you getting off saying that 2 goddamn books are the entire series for something that has 6 books, if you count the collection of short stories as a book? Like, that's just fucking lying.
It's because they haven't republished them yet, but they're still going out of their way to be predatory in their marketing.
You have to talk louder.
You need to repeat what I said.
Cardboard, that's your name now. Cardboard says it's because they haven't actually republished the Fall of the Illyrian series yet, but they still want to be predatory about their marketing and shit and just lie to people to get money. But in this case, the money went to an actual charity, and the publishers didn't get shit. If you ever decide to buy a Humble Bundle of humbleness, I don't know if that's actually what they call it, when you are on that home page looking at the thingy you're gonna get, go hit what I think it's like customized donation. There's like a pay now button, and then below that there's a little drop down menu that's kind of hidden. It says customize your donation amounts, and then it lets you push and pull sliders to say give XYZ percentage to the charity, give XYZ percentage to the publisher, give XYZ percentage to the actual Humble Bundle website. You can set all of that to 0 and give the maximum amount to the charity, which is what you should do, because that's literally the fucking point of it. So, anyways, yeah. We are on chapter 4 because I had to stop before I even finished the first paragraph because the horror. This is supposedly page 53. So the whole thing leading up to this, that people watching this video at random, I am judging you. I have a playlist for a reason. At least don't act like you're confused or act like I am missing context or nuance. That's not the get out of jail free card you all think it is. Because very clearly some people are watching these just picking one and then deciding not to look for any of the other conversations of stuff I'm talking about, and they're like, oh, you're ignoring XYZ, and it's like, no, you just clicked on the video where we talked about that. That's very clearly numbered. This is video 17, I think. Like, you can't click on the 17th video in a series and then act like you have the full context when you haven't bothered to watch them all. And you don't have to watch them all. The transcripts are all free to read and download on the Internet Archive. You can even set the Internet Archive's ebook reader thingy to read it to you out loud in an automated voice. Anyways, yeah, the whole lead up to this, you will notice, as far as the ebook is concerned, I think we are 28% of the way through the story. I'd say that's a good estimate. Nothing has happened besides Murderbot being abused and coerced into a completely unfucking necessary and agonizing surgery that it doesn't need to have because without being anesthetized, without any fucking painkillers. And now we're finding out that it was bad enough, because I did reread this book a few months ago, and I even mentioned a few months ago what's going on here, but then I forgot about that in the everything else going on. I don't have my bookmark, but I'm gonna see if the receipt is just in that cupboard where I put the other book, or a receipt that doesn't have a lot of ink on it, or we have an actual bookmark somewhere. No, that's too thick. I just want a receipt. Oh well, I'll just remember what page we're on. Yeah. I forgot about this detail, even though, cause like everything else is so bad, and this just makes it so much worse. So, the videos leading up to this, and then I had to stop when I got here and was reminded exactly what's going on. Oh, hey, a little ribbon. I can use that as a bookmark. That'll work. I have to close this, because my finger decided just suddenly it was gonna hurt. Yeah. Up until now, I've been going off of the assumption, because I misremembered, even though I very much remembered this months ago, that all the, quote-unquote, all that is happening here is that Art is chopping Murderbot's limbs off. We know it has to be below the elbow because, well, I guess it's not. It's not actually. I thought chopping the fucking limb off, setting that aside, chopping some more off of either side of that, and then taking the big section, and I feel like I need to draw the fucking diagram.
Use the iPad. I keep calling it the iPad.
Is it not the iPad?
No, it's a Kindle. It's a Kindle Fire HD from Joker.
How many years old is it?
Are
you opening a canvas?
Almost 10 years old.
Okay, I'm drawing on the quote-unquote iPad that's not an iPad, but we just call them all that. 'Cause
10 years habit of having a stupid-ass iPad.
Okay, so, let me see what's going on. Okay. Can I increase the size of the thingy?
Yes.
Where? Is it the 2.9 button?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's visible. Okay, so I thought that the plan here was take Murderbot's arms and legs. That's like that. chop them. And then we
It
got...
demonstrates how
yeah,
horrifying
this is literally so fucking horrifying. So, literally chopping off its limbs. No matter what, that is the goddamn plan. So I thought, okay, because the plan, for no reason at all, there's no justification, there's no actual justification. It's horrifying, but we're just supposed to be fine with it. Okay, so I thought the plan is, okay, it's not okay, but I'm just saying that because that's a fucking verbal pause, whatever the scientific name is. I forget the name from those grammar videos. Okay, not okay, very much not okay, like horrific. Verbal acknowledgement of the fact that I am continuing blah 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 blah. Grammar's cool. I forget it though. So I thought we would be, art. I thought art, the fucking sadistic, I'm gonna chop you up for fun because literally, textually, it's doing this because it's bored. I thought the plan was chop off Murderbot's arms and legs below the elbow, then chop off another section of that, sit that small section aside, take this is the shoulder area, this is the shoulder, and then take this little piece of where the hand is, and the hands are getting progressively worse, and stitch them, why is it not doing the thing? Stitch them together so that you end up with a shorter arm. That's the whole plan here. Pretend those are stitch marks, okay? But apparently it's even worse than that, even though it shouldn't be possible for it to get worse. And then you would just have a little random chunk of flesh over there. Or rather, 4 random chunks of flesh, because this is happening to every single one of Murderbot's limbs. Both arms, both legs, this shit's gonna happen. But apparently, eraser... Are the erasers exactly what they look like?
Yes.
Okay.
And they are individually sized, independent of the pen. /marker.
Okay. I assume me erasing shit and changing pen size isn't gonna mess it up.
No, that's a completely new document.
Okay. I probably could have just hit undo, but that's too bad. Okay. So, but apparently what's actually happening, which is why I had to stop and just go, no, is that, okay, Murderbot's arm. I'm going to have to draw the whole thing this time. Whoop, 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 whoop. We have an elbow and hand. Apparently what's actually happening is even worse, because instead of just quote unquote, just chopping the forearm off, we're chopping it off up here, above the elbow, and below the elbow. So we are detaching everything below the elbow, and then we're attaching everything below the shoulder. The elbow is getting completely fucking removed. So the elbow is just, Jesus Christ, just sitting there by itself. And then this is what has to happen. Why is it doing that? So now we have to take the shoulder area, we have to chop off a section there, and we have to take this area down here, and we have to chop off a section there. We're not just doing one section of shortening, we're doing it above and below the elbow, because this very first paragraph of chapter 4 is Murderbot waking in agony because it hasn't been given pain medication, and it wasn't properly anesthetized, as in wasn't anesthetized at all. It's waking in agony with bands of pain around its elbow and knee joints, because meaning above and below, meaning here and here.
I took it to mean that Art was taking some extremely creative sadistic liberties and wanted to see how precise it could be in taking apart the joints and then putting them back together at the joints.
I mean, that's literally what's happening.
Yeah, that was
and this doesn't need to be happening. This does not need to be happening to Murderbot. We do not need to be torturing Murderbot like this. And if people are thinking, oh, well, that's taking it too far. Performing surgery on somebody without giving them anesthesia or pain medicine is a literal fucking form of torture. The fact that Martha Wells doesn't want you to notice how horrific this is does not change the fact that this is fucking torture. So literally, off of every single one of Murderbot's fucking limbs, there are 2 chunks of flesh being removed. This is happening to its legs as well. That's a foot. Just pretend it's a foot. Just shut up. It's a foot. I'm not drawing it correctly. Again, with the knees. We are doing the exact same thing with the knees. That means we are chopping everything at the thigh area. Everything below, above the knee, that's gone. That's all completely fucking disconnected. The knee is then completely separated from the shin and foot. And then it is all sewn back together, if I can draw a fucking proper leg this time, to be shorter than it was before. Pretend these line up. We are literally torturing Murderbot for no fucking reason. Because, as if you've seen the rest of the videos, there's no actual justification for this. She could have made this, like, literally the only fucking option for Murderbot to not immediately be murdered by a lynch mob. I even spelled out fucking scenarios that I made up instantaneously on the fucking spot to show how that could have gone with basic fucking editing. But she didn't set that up. Murderbot's not actually under threat of being killed by a goddamn lynch mob. Not one single person looked at it funny, or even looked at it at all. It is just being fucking coerced by Art into letting Art perform ridiculous fucking invasive surgeries. Literally because Art is bored. Canonically, that is literally what is happening here. Let me just erase it all. That's not white.
I'm bored, Dave.
Well, that's mean to him. He didn't do anything wrong.
I know,
I know.
I was about to say, and I'm on his side.
Did he even say that? Or is it just a mimicry of...
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that.
Yeah, okay. Now, so, let me try and... Is there a symmetry button on here?
Somewhere at the very top.
Oh, I found it, I think. Okay, so... very bad drawing, very bad drawing. It decided I wasn't pushing anymore. Hold on. We'll draw it from the feet up. Okay, so... Hello? I'm just going to draw all the joints as little circles to show them. This is a shitty drawing. Okay, and apparently I'm not pushing the button right. Okay. So, Murderbot literally has had its limbs chopped off below the knee, or above the knee, and below the knee, and reattached to be shorter. Its limbs have also been entirely fucking removed. Above the elbow and below the elbow, and then reattached to shorten all of its limbs. Without anesthesia. Click. You can suffer my horrible writing. I don't care. No anesthesia. No pain meds. This is torture. And it didn't have to happen. This did not need to happen. We are supposed to like Art and think that Art is awesome and cool, and that Art and Murderbot's relationship is so cute and adorable and wholesome, and they're such a good ship. They argue like an old married couple. Art, here's the thingy back. Art literally has been abusing Murderbot from the goddamn start. It literally let Murderbot aboard, and then, of its own free will, knowing that Murderbot was an escaped slave, and then literally just to be fucking sadistic, decided to threaten to murder Murderbot very viscerally. This is the fucking robot equivalent of just coming out of nowhere and holding a fucking gun to your head. It did that for fun, because rapport exists by this point in time and space. It's November 20th, 2025. Rapport has been out for like 100-something days now. That came out in June or July. I always get those two mixed up because they are right next to each other and both start with J. We know now that art thinks faster than everyone around it, so that time seems to be moving slowly. Art knew exactly who Murderbot was, and at this point you can't convince me otherwise, because it had access to all of those news. It knew who Murderbot was. It knew Murderbot was a runaway slave. It knew it was a sec unit the second it fucking saw it. And then it still pretended not to know exactly what Murderbot was up to, and threatened to murder it after letting it aboard on purpose. So if Art had actually felt threatened and was scared of Murderbot, it could have simply just said, "Nope, you can't come on board. I don't trust you. I think you're going to hurt me." But it didn't actually fucking think Murderbot was going to hurt it in any goddamn way. It literally just fucking held a metaphorical, not even a metaphorical, held the equivalent of a gun to Murderbot's head and said, "If you try to hurt me, I will fucking kill you." Literally. So, okay, imagine you're hitchhiking. You are a runaway slave, you're hitchhiking. You ask somebody to give you a ride somewhere. They say, "Sure, yeah, that's fine." And then as soon as they are on the highway blasting by at 100 miles an hour, so you cannot get out of the fucking car without dying. If you didn't know, in case there's somebody who didn't know this, if you jump out of a moving car, you're gonna fucking die because you're hitting the ground at whatever speed that fucking car is going. Your body is not meant for that. Imagine you're a runaway slave. You are hitchhiking. You know that the person giving you a ride knows that you're a runaway slave. They are willing to let you in their car anyways. But then as soon as they get on the highway and are going 100 miles an hour, there's nobody around for miles who can help you. They whip out a fucking gun and press it to your fucking head and tell you, "If you do anything to harm me, I will fucking kill you." When you've done nothing to harm them and they literally let you in the car. Is this self-defense? Is this something that can be justified by saying, "Oh, well, I thought you might hurt me"? No. They let you in their fucking car. They could have, if they felt scared of you, they could have simply kept driving. But they stopped, they let you get in, they saw that you were doing nothing to hurt them, and they very specifically waited until you could not fucking leave, which is the exact opposite of what they would want if they genuinely felt threatened by you, and then threatened to fucking murder you for literally no reason. This is just sadism. This is just Art being fucking sadistic and just fucking tormenting Murderbot and abusing Murderbot for no reason except that it enjoys it, apparently. And a lot of people are like, "Well, the character's called Asshole Research Transport. You think it's gonna be a funny little nice person?" It's like, no. It's fine for a character to be an abusive, fucking sadistic asshole. What's not okay is for the author and the narrative to want us to like that character and pretend that they're a good person, which is what this series is doing. Just because she's lampshading the fact that Art is an abusive fucking sack of shit does not mean it's good to portray Art being an abusive sack of shit as quirky and wholesome and relationship goals, which is supposed to be our takeaway with Art and Murderbot here. It's literally just romanticizing abuse, and in this case, literal fucking medical abuse and torture. So anyways, let's read chapter 4. This is after Murderbot has been coerced and shamed into getting a surgery it didn't fucking want. It literally said, "I would rather peel off my skin than get this surgery, but I am being given no fucking choice." That's not consent. Murderbot explicitly does not fucking consent to the surgery. It just literally has no goddamn choice, and it is being coerced at every goddamn opportunity and told that if it doesn't get this surgery, it will instantly fucking be sold back into slavery, which is not true. This is just horrific. but we're supposed to think it's fine, and the fandom loves to misrepresent this horrific fucking torture. They love to say, "Oh yeah, Murderbot got real relationship goals is when your bestie gives you gender affirming care." Gender affirming surgery is how the fandom decides to frame being tortured. That's how they advertise this scene to people who have not read the book. So they're literally claiming that a runaway slave being fucking coerced into getting a horrific traumatizing surgery that they don't want by somebody who's holding them at gunpoint and has kidnapped them at this point, because Murderbot can't leave. It wanted to fucking leave as soon as Art threatened to kill it, but Art made sure to threaten to kill it after they were already out in space and too far away from the station to get help or even get back. This is now kidnapping. Because if you ask somebody for a ride and because you're hitchhiking, because you're a runaway slave, you're getting in their car in the agreement that they're going to drop you off somewhere without hurting you. If they literally threaten to fucking murder you with a gun to your fucking head the second you are unable to escape them, that's kidnapping now, because the contract that was agreed upon, you'll drive me to here, we'll both be safe, has been broken. So this is coercion under threat of death and kidnapping. And it's leading to Murderbot being tortured, and Martha Wells wants us to be totally fine with all of this. We're not actually supposed to see this as just a literal fucking horror story. This is supposed to be the epitome of these two bonding. And she's framing it as being a romantic relationship. That's what she's doing, because exact same thing with Murderbot in the fucking armor. Murderbot is supposed to be Arrow Ace and repulsed by everything, and it has kept saying that, but Martha Wells clearly doesn't actually respect that or give a fuck about that, because she and every single other goddamn character in the series, which we're never supposed to be upset with for this, keep insisting that this relationship must be romantic and sexual, and it's just more diversity baiting. It's queer baiting. She's just with the armor. What is the fucking word I'm thinking of? She's courting all of the white supremacists by constantly putting Murderbot in armor so that there's nothing in the books themselves to prove that it's a black person. And she's also courting... No, I think it's courting. She's courting all of the Allos who hate Arrow Ace people, who are repulsed by the thought of being in a sexual or romantic relationship. She's courting them by having Murderbot protest too much about being Arrow Ace and not wanting anything to do with that, while all of the characters that we're supposed to worship go, haha, wink wink, nudge nudge, we all know what's going on here. How silly for Murderbot. Anyways, I came back online to find I was at 26% capacity, but the percentage was climbing slowly. Bands of pain circled my knee and elbow joints, so intense I couldn't process it. My human skin itched, and I was leaking. I hate that.
Bleeding.
Yeah, by leaking, that means Murderbot is bleeding from this fucking surgery that it was not anesthetized for and has not been given any pain medication to deal with. And it's bleeding.
See how this is being framed.
And do you see how the simple statement, I hate that, that's taking this whole paragraph and saying, haha, it's very funny. Trust me, this isn't a horror story or anything like that. You shouldn't be horrified. It's just silly. See, Murderbot hates leaking, because using the word leaking is supposed to make that seem funny, instead of like, okay, so Murderbot has literally had all of its limbs chopped off and then chopped into smaller pieces and then sewn back together without anesthesia, without pain medicine, and it's fucking bleeding from that? Meaning Art didn't actually fucking sew this shit together properly or reattach these limbs properly.
Wait, in the first book, sec units are supposed to have like auto-cauterizing veins and shit.
Yeah.
But Art disabled
Yeah. I guess so, because Cardboard says, but wait, in book 1 it said sec units have auto-cauterizing veins, so did Art disable those? And it's like, I guess it must have, because what else are we supposed to go along with besides admitting that the author is shit at writing? Which, yes, we can do, because, yeah, that's why. It's because she's shit at writing. But in universe, what explanation are we supposed to come to besides Art decided to disable that? How... you shouldn't be bleeding after a surgery has been successfully formed, because the point of surgery is that you're not bleeding. I'm thirsty. I'm getting a drink quick. You can feel free to say things like, that's just paragraph 1. Feel free to talk about the frame. Oh, there's a Marlena. Oh, we forgot more drinks.
There's water in the kitchen.
Oh, no, one of these fancy little, not even fancy. I don't really think it tastes like anything, but you want a ginger ale thing?
How many are in there? Because I want to keep at least 4 for actual Thanksgiving. Okay, fine.
When you're talking out loud and doing stuff, oh, sorry. I don't know if that showed up on the video. Come back. I don't know if that showed up on the video, but Marlena, come here, decided to jump on the sofa right as I was leaning back, so I almost squished her. Marlena, you silly girl. You gotta be careful. She's fine. She doesn't care. She's rolling around because she's a cutie. Anyways, you're supposed to drink hot things while you're talking a lot, but it's already hot, so I'm not making hot chocolate. Also, we don't have hot chocolate powder. So it's cranberry ginger ale from Aldi. I don't really think it tastes like either. It's good. Like, not fantastic. Doesn't really taste... I guess there's a...
It tastes like the name brand does.
Oh, does it? Okay, I guess if you like the actual ginger ale brand, this apparently tastes exactly the same, so... Not very high rating for that either, I guess. So again, with just the framing of this paragraph alone, I just have to post this paragraph alone to Tumblr and say, hey everybody, let's do some analysis, shall we? Why are you dropping things? Why are you dropping things? Huh?
I said, are you supposed to take this seriously, or is this the author's attempt at downplaying what just happened?
Because the ending parts of this paragraph starts out neutral, just stating facts. And then at the very end, we get, and I was leaking. I hate that. The usage of the word leaking instead of bleeding. That's supposed to automatically make it seem funny and weird, and therefore funny. And then saying, I hate that. We're not supposed to take that funny. That's supposed to be funny. That not supposed to take that seriously. We're supposed to think that's funny. Murderbot hates bleeding. Murderbot hates leaking. That's supposed to be funny. So, yeah. Bands of pain circled my knee and elbow joints, so intense I couldn't process it. So it is in literal fucking agony from the fucking surgery that it wasn't anesthetized for and has not been given any goddamn pain medication. Even though the rest of the surgical suite and medical bay works on it perfectly, so what exactly is the reason it's not being given pain medication? We're never given an explanation in the book that the company prevented regular painkillers from working on them somehow, made them immune to them, made them like metabolize them so that they don't function. That could be a thing. That could be used to further show the evil of the corporations that do this shit and enslave people like this. That they're so goddamn cruel. They make it so pain medication doesn't even work on them. But we don't even get that. So, literally, the only possible explanation we can come to without making shit up like that, by making up, okay, I guess pain medication just doesn't work on them for some fucking reason. The only actual explanation we can come to with the evidence that we have, considering Murderbot is bleeding after the surgery has been successfully completed, is that Art has chosen not to give him pain medication for fun. What other explanation is there? It's not like Art doesn't have access to pain medication. It does. It has an entire fully kitted out medical suite, including a surgery bay. So why isn't Murderbot being given pain medication? Why is Murderbot having to wake up from a fucking butcher job in agony and still bleeding? Why is it fucking bleeding? Why are the fucking chop marks on its goddamn arms bleeding? And then Art has no comment on this. Doesn't say, I'm sorry, I overestimated my abilities to blah 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 interface with your proprietary technology. You're actually way more different from a human than I thought, so I'm so fucking sorry that you're bleeding because I can't do anything about that. Nothing like that. Nothing like Art actually fucking up. This should never be a way.
Art can't fuck up.
Because Art can't fuck up, so everything going on here is on purpose. We could have had a thing where Art...
Because everything Art does is premeditated.
Everything Art does is premeditated because literally rapport tells us that it thinks so fucking fast that it is physically fucking incapable of committing a crime of passion because it thinks so quickly that the world seems to be moving in slow motion compared to how fast its thoughts go, meaning literally every single thing that Art has ever done in this series and ever will do in the future is 1000% premeditated. In the time it takes me to say the word premeditated, Art has already planned out 50,000 fucking murders in exact detail and then carries them out. This shit is premeditated. This is how continuity works, especially because Martha Wells is trying to lie. Well, no, she's not trying. She is lying directly to all of our faces with rapport and claiming that Art totally had character development in this book. Art totally learned a bunch of stuff in this book. And it's like, no, it didn't. Shut the fuck up. Just scribble a thing of somebody just bleeding. Never mind. You can all just use your imaginations. Imagine a little drawing. And then every single one of those cut wounds, they're bleeding. Bleeding. After the surgery has been successful. Because Art, as I said, this is a success. This is a full success. This is successful surgery. Because Art doesn't apologize for botching it. Art doesn't apologize for fucking up and being overconfident and then realizing when it's too goddamn late to take it back, it couldn't actually do this job properly that it promised. Because Art's not allowed to fuck up. Art's always right. This is what success looks like. Torturing a goddamn slave who didn't want to do this in the first place, that you fucking forced into it, and it is in agony, and it's still fucking bleeding because you didn't even fucking take care of the goddamn wounds that you inflicted upon it.
And Murderbot's own systems can't cauterize them.
Murderbot's veins aren't cauterizing themselves like we were told they do in book 1 because she's shit at fucking writing. That's all paragraph 1. And the framing there is, yeah, this is funny. Don't take this seriously. It's just a silly little joke. I didn't have the capacity to access or play any of my media because it's in fucking agony. It's literally in so much agony that not only can it not move, It can't even mentally fucking do anything, huh?
It can't even disassociate.
It can't even fucking disassociate because it's in so much fucking pain, because it can't access its fucking TV shows and just lose itself in them. All I could do was lie there waiting for my levels to adjust. Attempts to move just made it worse. It's literally being tortured right now. Art could have given it pain medication and chose not to. And Martha Wells is not portraying this as a goddamn horror story. She is not portraying Art as a terrifying, fucking sadistic butcher. We're supposed to be fine with all of this. We're just supposed to accept that, oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Don't question why there's no anesthesia. Don't question why there's no pain medicine being given to the fucking victim / patient. Don't question the fact that Murderbot is bleeding after the surgery has been long since completed. Don't question any of this. We're not supposed to think of any of this as horrifying in any fucking way. We're just supposed to just roll with it and think, oh, it's kind of sad that Murderbot's in pain, but also not really, because yeah, it's literally being tortured right now. It has been tortured and chopped into fucking pieces, and we're just supposed to be fine with this. Attempts to move just made it worse. I wished I had gone with Plan 16 to render the art, I guess. The asshole research transport. Render the art. Alright. I don't think that's ever used that way ever again. I wished I had gone with Plan 16 to render the art inoperable, the one with the best statistical chance of success without me taking catastrophic damage in retaliation. Plan 2 to blow it up was looking pretty attractive at the moment too. This had been a stupid thing to agree to, and it's like, you didn't actually agree to it, Murderbot. You did not consent to this in any fucking way. You were fucking forced into it. Being forced into something by your fucking kidnapper, who has already threatened to fucking murder you, is not consent. So, literally, Murderbot wishes, because of all of the fucking pain it is in, that it had actually attempted to murder Art in self-defense, instead of being coerced into this. But again, we're not supposed to take this seriously. That's just supposed to say, oh, that's so funny. It's so mad at Art, but not really. And yeah, I must stress, just because Murderbot thinks it agreed to this, it didn't. It didn't actually fucking agree to this. It had literally no way of saying to Art, because even if it just kept saying no, Art was going to keep fucking pushing it, and Art can literally murder it at any fucking time, and there's literally nowhere Murderbot can go to escape. Again, so, with the hitchhiking metaphor, the fucking person driving the car who let you in on purpose holds a gun to your head, and then says, hey, you have to let me chop you into fucking pieces. I'm totally a qualified surgeon. Let me chop you into pieces, just for the fuck of it, 'cause I'm bored. I have nothing better to do, so I may as well chop you into fucking pieces. Oh, and by the way, if you don't let me do this, you'll die. Other people will murder you. And then you literally can't fucking leave. And they're still holding that fucking gun to your head. They can kill you at any fucking time. The only way you can get them to not instantly fucking kill you is agreeing to be chopped into fucking pieces, which is not actual consent. You're not actually agreeing. Here's a basic fucking concept for people that people need to get through their heads. If you can, shush! It's my fucking shush. If you cannot say no, you cannot consent. If you do not actually, really, truly have the ability to say no to someone and have them accept and respect that no, then you are not actually able to consent to them. Because consent requires the ability to not consent. If the only fucking options you have is saying yes and being fucking constantly harassed about it until you give in from exhaustion and say yes, because this person is literally threatening to fucking kill you, and can kill you at any time, and you both know it, and it literally fucking threatened to murder you for no reason but fucking sadistic enjoying the fact that you're terrified of it, you can't consent to that, because you don't actually have the ability to fucking say no. Murderbot does not actually have the ability to say no to Art. Art literally can kill it at any point. Art went out of its way to establish that. You can't say you genuinely cannot actually say no or consent to the person who literally held a fucking gun to your head and still has that gun in their goddamn hand. Not even putting it away. They're still holding it. They can fucking point it at your head again at any goddamn time. This is not consent. This is not consensual surgery. And the fact that the fandom lies to people and tells them, oh yeah, Murderbot got gender-affirming surgery. It's like, that is just so fucking hateful and vile to trans people. Trans people getting gender-affirming surgery is not being tortured under threat of fucking death and being constantly harassed and told you'll die if you don't do it. And that is a fucking disgusting comparison to make. Especially because now you are telling people to read the books because Murderbot gets gender-affirming surgery, and then they get here and they see, you think that gender-affirming surgery is literal fucking butchery, chopping people into pieces while threatening to murder them without anesthesia, without pain medicine, and then forcing them to suffer through that. That's just disgusting. Just shut the fuck up. We're now on paragraph 3. It was like being in a cubicle after being shot to pieces, but without the cubicle's ability to shut down higher functions until the repairs were complete. Again, it is in literal fucking agony because Art is torturing it. This is fucking torture. This didn't have to fucking happen. It doesn't need to be fucking torturous if we pretend that it did have to happen, which it didn't. It could have been given pain medication. It could have been kept fucking anesthetized. Anesthetized in the fucking first place. It could have been kept properly anesthetized until all of this shit was done. But Art is keeping it awake and letting it be awake and letting it feel this pain on purpose. Because if that weren't what is going on, then Art would be giving it pain medication, or else would be apologizing for the inability to give it pain medication. But we can't do that because Art always has to be right. So Art can't be incapable of doing anything, so therefore it's all just totally fine. Again, this isn't supposed to be horror. This is just supposed to be totally fine and chill. Just relaxing, turn your brain off and enjoy it. Don't think about it at all though. I had known going in that the med system wouldn't be able to adjust my pain level, but I hadn't thought it would be this bad. So, again, the medical system itself not being able to adjust Murderbot's internal pain sensor thingy-majigs that's not the same thing as Murderbot being unable to be given pain medication. There's no fucking explanation for why Murderbot was not given pain medication. Murderbot being able to turn off its pain sensors at will is not the fucking same thing as being given or not given pain medication. And again, I hadn't thought it would be this bad. Again, further lack of consent. Murderbot wasn't actually told how agonizing this shit would be. Which means, if it had consented in the first place, which it didn't, it wouldn't be informed consent, which means it's still not fucking consent. Again, Murderbot consented to getting a goddamn ride somewhere. It did not fucking consent to being threatened with being murdered and then harassed and coerced into a torturous surgery that it was fucking lied about how painful it would be. Art said, my crew trusts me to do these things, why don't you trust me? And then it didn't fucking properly prepare Murderbot for the amount of agony this would cause. I couldn't adjust my own temperature either, but I wasn't cold, as the med system was controlling the temperature of the room and the platform to keep me at a comfortable level. Cubicles didn't do that, and I had to admit it was nice. Again, this is just being used to downplay. So one nice thing is that Murderbot is not being left to freeze to death, and Art's not even the one doing this. That's the med system just doing that by itself. And that's supposed to make up for everything else that we have just been described, which is all being framed as just lighthearted, chill, not a literal fucking horror story at all. Gradually, and you cannot ignore the fact that Murderbot is a fucking black person. Like, this is medical abuse. And it's just more racism. You can't divorce the fact that Murderbot is actually a fucking black person, whether or not Martha Wells is shilling for the company whitewashing it or not. Martha Wells is choosing to do this to her black, non-binary, enslaved character and presents it all as just totally fine, just totally normal. You don't need to be concerned. It's fine. Gradually, my levels started to even out, and I got back enough function to dial down my pain sensor and turn off the itching. We don't get told how long it's taken that gradually to mean. Does that mean a few minutes or a few fucking hours? Because
hours.
it sounds like fucking hours.
3 minutes of 3 minutes silence in the middle of a conversation is apparently normal for bots.
Mm-hmm. I needed some pain to tell me what not to move until all of the regrowth of my organic tissue was complete. And it's like, okay, again, why wasn't Murderbot kept anesthetized until it had already healed, reached this level of being able to do that? And the only fucking conclusion we can come to from what is in the fucking book is that Art decided not to help it in any way and just let it suffer like this for no fucking reason. Because if that weren't what's going on, we would get told that and explain to us why this is happening the way it is, if it were actually something that Art weren't able to fucking help with. Art was hanging around. Okay, again with the bullshit. You know, the augmented human person, including in. Art was hanging around out in my feed. Hanging around out in my feed. Make a list. Text me a list. Just including in. Augmented human person. Just like. Again, this book claims to have been edited by Lee. Huh?
Do you have your phone silenced?
No?
So it's not going to chime and buzz.
Oh. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, including in, augmented human person, and now hanging around out in. Jesus Christ. Lee Harris claims to have edited this. Lee Harris also claims to have edited the first book, and Lee Harris claims to have edited Rapport, the thing that is only a few months old and has such glaring fucking typos in it, even though they're selling it to people for money, and people are buying it under the impression that it's the entire next book in the series, only to think that their Kindle is broken because there's no ending to the fucking story, and there's massive blatant typos that anybody should be fucking embarrassed by, especially if they're making people pay for it and claiming to be professionals. Where was I at? Art was hanging around out in my feed. Jesus Christ. But you know, this is definitely worth $17 plus tax plus shipping. You want to look up how much this shitty book costs now? With the Apple shilling raising the prices?
Book 2.
Yep. You just look on Amazon because that's where most people are probably getting it.
It's on sale for Black Friday.
Oh, that's all right. Well, it's on sale for Black Friday. So, what is the Black Friday sale price for a
It's
hardcover?
on special
Hardcover,
sale.
if that's an
Yeah.
option. Okay.
It's on special hardcover sale for Black Friday for $12, usually $24.99, and they're charging $12.99 for the Kindle edition now.
Okay, so the Kindle, is that with the Black Friday sale, or do they not do it for Kindle books?
They don't do it for Kindle books.
Okay, the ebook costs $12. The hardcover these days in 2025, now that she is shilling for Apple, the exact same people whitewashing and ciswashing her black non-binary protagonist, this $17 has been increased. Did you say 24?
Yes, that's the full price.
24. Is that $24.99 or $23.99?
I already closed it.
Okay, it's either 24, probably $24.99. This is $24.99. They're charging $24.99 for a book that's a centimeter thick because, as I said, the pages line up perfectly with the first one. And we get such fantastic professional editing, such as art was hanging around out in my feed. God damn. But mercifully hadn't tried to talk to me yet. At 75% capacity, I tried to sit up. MedSystem started throwing warnings, and Art said, "There is no reason to move now." During the process, I ran a search of my onboard public information news feed bases during the... Oh my God! Stop with the corporate speak! Jesus Christ! You don't need to say all of this shit. And again, there's a difference between being pretentious, which is what this shit is, and using words correctly. We don't need to be saying all of this shit. It's just obnoxious and pretentious and literal fucking corporate speak, even though this is supposed to be criticizing corporations. Are you listening?
Mm-hmm. You have to start that sentence over again.
There is no reason to move now. During the process, and again, hold on. Murderbot tries to sit up. MedSystem started to throw warnings. We don't get an actual, it's just ridiculous. There is no reason to move now. During the process, I ran a search of my onboard public information newsfeed bases during the time period in question regarding unusual fatalities related to mining. Do you want my conclusions based on the results? The dialogue doesn't need to fucking say that shit. That is just fucking obnoxious. That is just pretentious fucking corporate speak. The only reason it says all that shit, all of those words where 2 words would have fucking sufficed, is just to make the story seem longer. Swear to God. I eased back down, feeling my organic parts cling to the warm metal of the platform. I was now leaking from a different spot. So, Murderbot is bleeding in multiple fucking places, even though we're told that this is a successful surgery that results in the victim, because we can't call it a fucking patient, it's a goddamn victim. It didn't consent to any of this shit. It didn't want to do this shit. It's bleeding in multiple fucking places. So its limbs literally chopped off and then not even properly reattached. And it was bleeding before it tried to move. It would be one thing if it moved abruptly and tore some fucking stitches, but like, if that's a simple thing that can happen just from it moving, then it should be in a medically induced coma right now to prevent it from fucking moving and literally having its goddamn limbs fall off, because right here, it's gone. Right here, it's gone. These areas won't be lining up properly because your arm is not a perfect cylinder. So we're chopping a section out and then sewing this back together. We are chopping a section out here and then sewing those back together. And apparently it's not even good sewing because it was bleeding before moving, even though that was when the surgery was done. And we're also not getting told, like, is the medical bay just literally letting it lie there in its fucking blood? Is all of the blood from the surgery literally just sitting there and Murderbot is lying in its goddamn blood? Because we're not told that the med system was suctioning away the blood and applying bandages or anything like that. Or absorbing it or anything like that. Is it literally just lying in a puddle of its own fucking blood, which it is still bleeding into right now, while it is in fucking agony? Is that literally what's going on here? Because this is fucking disgusting and evil, and we're just supposed to see this. This is only 1.5 pages. We're supposed to be breezing past this and not giving a single fuck. I was now leaking from a different spot. I told Art I knew how to fucking read search results. I would defer to your expertise in shooting and killing things. You should defer to mine in data analysis. And again, the casual fucking cruelty. Art knows that Murderbot is a fucking slave. It knows that Murderbot was enslaved to have to do this shit. And saying, oh, I would defer to your expertise in murdering people. Even though we're supposed to think that it's bad for that Murderbot has to kill slave owners, a thing that it doesn't actually do. But again, we're supposed to pretend that Murderbot is upset about killing slave owners, so now Art is rubbing that in its fucking face. Rubbing salt in the goddamn wounds, you might fucking say. This is just casual fucking cruelty. You don't get to say to somebody who was enslaved to be a meat shield, I would defer to your, and forced to kill other slaves, I would defer to your ability, your fucking expertise in murdering people and being a meat shield. You don't fucking say that to someone, and we're supposed to think that's funny. We're just supposed to think that's funny and have no other thoughts about it whatsoever.
It's also just calling Murderbot too stupid to be able to
Yeah. Literally, as they literally just said, it's also just saying Murderbot is too stupid to read to just read the goddamn Google search results. And again, okay, so Art asked, I'm recapping, do you want me to tell you the results? Murderbot said, I know how to fucking read results, aka, no, I don't want you to tell me, I want to read them myself. Art says, you should let me read them to you. I would defer to your expertise in shooting and killing things. And then the next thing is, I told it, fine, whatever. Because again, Murderbot's literally not being allowed to consent to a single fucking thing. Art asked, you want me to read the search results to you? And Murderbot very blatantly said, no, I want to read them myself. And then Art is still pressing, you're too fucking stupid to read them yourself. You should let me do it. And then Murderbot gives up and says, all right, fine, whatever. That's, again, just such a basic fucking thing. And Murderbot doesn't actually get to consent to this either. I guess now is a good time to remind everybody that Martha Wells literally wrote an in-person interview where she's just interviewing herself and the characters that she got to write, and she literally decided to sexually harass Murderbot out of the conversation, even though the interview was titled Bodily Autonomy in the Murderbot Diaries. And then she acts like this is even remotely fucking okay. Murderbot doesn't get to have any goddamn bodily autonomy. Murderbot doesn't even get enough autonomy to actually be able to say, no, I want to read the results myself. Art is taking even that away from it. And we're just supposed to think it's funny. Because, haha, Art's mean in a funny, relatable way. Because
Art's such a good caretaker.
Yeah, Art's such a good caretaker. So do you want my conclusions based on the results? I told Art I knew how to fucking read search results. I would defer to your expertise in shooting and killing things. You should defer to mine in data analysis. I told it, fine, whatever. I didn't think there would be anything useful. So again, Murderbot is even just being denied actual autonomy in something as simple as looking at fucking Google search results. It sent its conclusions into the feed. meaning it was literally never going to let Murderbot actually fucking look at the goddamn search results for itself and oh no, oh no, oh no. Again, this is implying
Manipulation thing?
yeah. So, yeah, this is literally not letting Murderbot actually look at the sources for all of this shit. As I said several years ago, at this point, I would not be shocked if Art is revealed to secretly be the big bad all along, but that's giving Martha Wells too much credit, because she's she doesn't, like, there's so much things that could be foreshadowing for Art actually being a villain, but it's not foreshadowing, it's just that Martha Wells thinks that horrible, abusive people are good and wants us to like them. Art is not letting Murderbot actually look at all of the records it's claiming to have found, and as far as we know, it's just claiming, because we never see the actual evidence. Murderbot doesn't get to see these records for itself, it's just getting told what Art says it found. We're not supposed to see that as weird or anything, or we're not supposed to notice that it's literally denying Murderbot any actual autonomy here, despite pretending to make it a question, when obviously the only answer it is willing to accept is yes. It sent its conclusions into the feed, because it already had them prepared, because it literally was not willing to accept any other answer than yes, which means Murderbot literally can't even consent to something as basic as this. Admittedly, it made sense that a large number of deaths under unusual circumstances would end up in some sort of public record available to multiple news feeds, the way the Deltfall incident had. Let me get another drink. Mouth is dry. The Rabbi Hiral incident might also the damn thing. Fuck. No pun intended! I forgot. I was supposed to be using Farscape swears or something. Because the most annoying part, the most annoying frelling part of trying to edit the subtitles for these is that the automatic subtitles generated by YouTube, which I have to use because I can't use the one on my phone while I'm recording video, they automatically censor every swear word. No claws on the sofa. Thank you. Which makes it very obnoxious. So I was like, okay, I'll just throw in some fucking, see, I just fucked it up there again. That time was on purpose. I'll just throw in some swear words from Farscape, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica. I'll just throw in some sci-fi swear words, but I forgot. It's too late. I don't know where's the timer for this. Somewhere. That's the clock. I don't know. This is apparently 50.7 gigabytes. Huh?
So however many minutes into the video
Yeah. However many minutes into the video we are. Apparently the open camera app doesn't tell me, even though it's telling me the video's 50 gigabytes. So not actually better than the regular camera. Oh, okay, I see it. Okay. The time is in very tiny text at the bottom side of the thing, right here. I'm pointing at it. It's not. Other info's up at the top. It's telling me it's 9:02 p.m. with seconds included. That's not necessary, and it's telling me there's 50 gigabytes, 50.6 gigabytes.
That's your storage space.
Okay, I guess that's my storage space. And it's saying ISO something, I guess it's 30 frames per second, stuff like that. Okay, but the actual time of the video is down here. For anybody else, just for me to remember. I was going to say, am I magically not recording and all of this has been a waste? What was I saying? Yeah, it's too late for me to start using sci-fi swear words. Maybe I'll try. Because then the question is, will the fucking censor even be able to actually spell them? Or is it just going to add more trouble for me?
I mean, frack is to frack oil.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, yeah. Murderbot is not even allowed to consent to this. Because the story's just... We're not actually ever supposed to care about Murderbot or want Murderbot to be happy. Martha Wells just wants us to continually see abusive relationships as awesome and relationship goals. The Ravi High-Row incident might have been classed as an accident, but a company bond was involved, so there would have been a legal battle. Though if the data said it was a rogue sec unit who had killed everyone, that didn't give me any more information than I already had. Let me repeat that, because that's very relevant to the... I need the criffing. I don't think they say criffing in Star Wars. Do they ever use that with an ing at the end? In Star Wars, they say criff. Huh?
I think they just say criff.
Yeah, I don't think they ever say ing. This book is... No, I need a word for shittily. Means crappily. I guess I could just say crappily. This book is crappily written, so I want you all to pay attention to this sentence again. Though if the data said it was a rogue sec unit who had killed everyone, that didn't give me any more information than I already had. Alright, that's on page quote-unquote 55, minus 9 from that to get what actual page number it is. Pay attention to that, because the whole quest here, this whole side quest thing, it's supposed to be Murderbot finding out if it was actually involved in this massacre at Ganaka Pit, which is literally just a name chosen just to sound dramatic. It's meaningless, because we never actually see it in any way at all. It's just meaningless. It's bad writing.
And also, all mines are called blah blah pit as a report.
Yeah, apparently all of the mines are called insert name pit, as far as when... Was that a thing in rapport?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Idiot mentioned something.
Yeah, and it's like, why would you do that? She's trying to retcon and fix things, but it just makes it worse. Anyways, again, this book is terribly written. Martha Wells is a terrible writer. Again, I don't think I need to repeat how the plot was solved in book 1, do I? The bad guys were literally told, hey, we're going to make your nuclear bomb explode over there. So they rushed over to stand directly in front of the nuclear bomb. Not because they're trying to actively defuse it. None of them even remotely know how to do that. They're just standing there in front of the nuclear bomb waiting for it to explode to kill everybody. And then it did. And then all of the bad guys died. That's literally how the plot was solved. They told the bad guys, bomb's gonna go off. Bad guys ran over to get exploded. They literally exploded themselves. So, just...
You got exploded. Instead of blown up.
I don't remember that.
Just the fact that you're saying they exploded themselves, that just always reminds me of Zathura.
Is that a statement in Zathura?
Maybe not that exact thing, but the little brother says, we got exploded. Or I thought they exploded you.
Okay, I don't remember that. Well, let me pause it quick. Okay, I'm back. I had to wash my face. I have a fluffy kitty sitting next to me. Wanna stick your face over here? They can see you. You can see her tail. Look at that fluffy tail. Ribbon not working as well as I thought it would. Hey, no claws on the couch. That's not what paws are for. All of this is being framed as totally fine. We are supposed to be breezing past this. Like, this is, again, we've only covered, at this point, 1.5 pages. We're at the stop of what will be the 2.5 page. We're supposed to have breezed past all of this with nary a thought in our little fucking heads. But yeah, to emphasize a third fucking time, if the data said it was a rogue sec unit, that didn't tell me anything more than I already knew. Just to emphasize that again. Then, shittily formatted dialogue. Art is talking with just out of nowhere. Also, for the record, when Art is talking, it's just in italics. We're over on this side. It's just in italics. There's no quotation marks. Records across several archived news feeds indicate the site of the incident was likely a small installation called Ganaka Pit. The information originates in a source from Caledon, a political entity on the Corporation Rim. We're saying on the Corporation Rim. There's political entities on the Corporation Rim, not in the Corporation Rim, on. Like, this is just basic editing shit. You can't even keep it consistent whether things are in the Corporation Rim or on America. It's like saying something is on America. What?
You said that backwards.
I don't care. Whatever. Shut up. Whatever. This is like saying something is on America instead of in America. What do you mean it's on the Corporation Rim? Where the company funding... Okay, let me just restart. Records across several archived news feeds indicate the site of the incident was likely also... Who's archiving these news feeds? Huh? Who's archiving this shit? Isn't that illegal? If it's a capitalist dystopia, why isn't it illegal to archive things instead of making you pay for them newly again? If all of this shit was supposed to be covered up, why are those archives allowed to still exist? Answers, questions that need to be answered, if we're supposed to pretend this is a serious story for serious adults with Martha Wells literally gets up on stages and berates people that it is, then why don't we get answers to these basic questions? Indicate the site of the incident was likely a small installation called Ganaka Pit. The information originates in a source from Caledon, a political entity, and if you're wondering if Caledon ever comes up again, it doesn't. It's just there. It's just a meaningless name. A political entity on the Corporation Rim, where the company funding Ganaka Pit was based. There were 57 fatalities. The cause is listed as equipment failure. Sec units were categorized on inventory as equipment. Art waited, and when I didn't say anything, added, "So your initial assumption was correct. The incident did occur. Investigation can now proceed." Except, we have to just take Art's word for this entirely, because it didn't actually let Murderbot look at any of the archives that it supposedly got all this shit from. We're just now basing this entire plot of this book on Art's word, even though Art's a fucking liar. Art waited, and when I didn't say anything, added, "So your initial assumption was correct. The incident did occur. Investigation can now proceed." I wanted to shut down, but it would interfere with the healing process. Why would that interfere with the healing?
That should make it better.
That should literally make the healing process progress better. Because you're not moving around and expending energy doing things that isn't healing. What is the logic here besides let's make Murderbot suffer and not even have any, not even an attempt of a justification? Why would this hinder the healing process? Why? These are basic questions. Again, when Art asks the basic fucking questions because a story doesn't add up, Art's just being logical. When I ask basic questions like, why are you telling us that Murderbot being unconscious would hinder the healing process? Now I'm just being nitpicky and I don't understand how storytelling works, because it's not a documentary, it's just a story, it's not supposed to make sense. Alright, then what's your justification for not explaining this when you keep saying, it just makes sense that Murderbot wouldn't care about that? Which is it? Which one is it? Because you can't have it both ways. I wanted to shut down, but it would interfere with the healing process. So again, Murderbot literally is just being forced to suffer through fucking agony. And is literally bleeding. And possibly is lying in a puddle, a growing puddle of its own fucking blood. But hey, at least it's not literally freezing to death. That makes up for everything else, right? Art asked, do you wish to watch media? I didn't respond, but it started an episode of Sanctuary Moon anyway, and again, that's supposed to be cute, and it's like, again, Murderbot not saying anything isn't saying, yes, put on my favorite show while I am lying here in agony. That's definitely an association I want to have. And then we get a random line break, and you can even just see we're here, and we're gonna get another line break over here already. So, like, again, why is Art even bothering to ask fucking questions if it's not actually giving Murderbot the right to answer them and have its answer be followed and respected? So it asked, "You want me to read you the search results?" Murderbot said, "No, I want to read them myself." Art said, "No, I'm doing it anyways." Art says, "You want to watch TV again? A thing I have been harassing you to let me do with you this whole entire time, instead of just watching it by myself?" Murderbot doesn't answer, and then Art's like, "Well, we're watching TV anyways, and we're supposed to pretend this is cute." If I were lying somewhere in agony, and emotional fucking distress, I wouldn't want to start watching my favorite TV show, because you know how trauma works? You associate bad things with whatever you're doing at the moment. So I made the mistake of listening to Doctor Who audio. PZ is the acronym, because I don't want people just looking up the fucking plot of it and getting the plot of it without all of the horrific, baffling lead up, especially if you skip an episode by accident and then are just brain meltingly confused and alarmed like I was. Anyways, I made the mistake of listening to a certain Doctor Who audio that's very well written and very fucking sad while I was playing The Elder Scrolls Online, and I happened to be visiting the City of Solitude. And then all the sad shit started happening. And it's actually gonna make me cry right now. Huh?
And it's called Solitude.
Yeah, it's even called Solitude. Like, it's literally just gonna make me cry right now thinking about it. It's so well written and it's so fucking tragic. I'm legitimately gonna start crying just thinking about it. Anyways.
That's what good media does.
That's what good media does. So I made this mistake because I have ADHD. So if I'm listening to an audio drama or an audiobook, I have to have something to do with my hands. Or I can't, or like I need something extra to do physically, or I can't focus mentally. And this was also a problem in school, and exactly one fucking teacher let me have actual pieces of paper to doodle on so I could actually listen to the lesson. No other teacher. So while I was making a mistake, I was playing ESO, muted, no volume, just doing random quests, and listening to this audio drama. So now, forever, I will associate the City of Solitude in the Elder Scrolls, whether I'm playing Skyrim or ESO, with this fucking tragedy. It's such a goddamn tragedy, and it makes me so mad. But also, I can't actually blame the character, because what other fucking choice does she have? She doesn't have another choice. So she's that's
these characters who have every choice in the world.
Yeah, unlike Murderbot and Art, these people who actually have the choice not to murder other people for fun and go out of their way to do so, none of the characters in this fucking story actually had a real choice in what they were doing, especially the one of them who had literally no choice. And what she does afterwards is her attempts to try and justify it to herself, even though she didn't actually get a choice in the matter. And it makes me so mad at her, but I can't actually blame her, because she didn't have a choice, because she's also a fucking victim. And I was listening to this shit that made me cry while playing ESO muted in the City of Solitude. So what I'm trying to say here is, I can't play ESO, not that we've played ESO in forever, I cannot theoretically go and open Skyrim and go to the City of Solitude and not think about this audio that made me cry so much. Murderbot is lying here in fucking agony, and Art is now going to put on Murderbot's favorite fucking TV show while Murderbot is actively suffering all of this fucking physical and emotional torment. This means that Murderbot will never be able to watch this episode of Sanctuary Moon without remembering this literal fucking trauma ever again. That's what I'm trying to say here. But we're not supposed to see it that way. We're just supposed to think, oh, it's so cute. they're gonna watch more TV together, even though Murderbot didn't want to watch TV with Art in the first place. And then Art just kept fucking forcing the matter and literally not letting Murderbot actually consent because it couldn't actually say no. Because Art literally wouldn't leave it alone until it said yes. And now, again, Art is saying, do you want to watch, do I have your consent to watch TV with me while you are lying there in fucking agony, actively being traumatized? And then Murderbot doesn't say anything, and Art says, well, that's good enough for me. We're going to watch your favorite show, and I'm going to ruin it forever for you, because now you'll never be able to watch it without thinking of the fucking agony you are in right now.
Would you like a really hilarious fun fact to bring the mood up?
If you talk louder.
If you would just like a random fun fact to lighten the mood a little bit. There's some random knockoff Transformers called... The Decepticons are called deformation robots, and they turn into ice creams.
Ice cream?
They turn into little ice cream cones.
Why are they called deformation?
Because it looks like Decepticon when you spell it out in a font similar to thingy.
If you say so. I'll take your word.
Theoretically.
I mean, it starts with D and ends with N, so...
Yeah.
Just show me the popsicles and I'll hold that phone up to the camera. You just zoom in, so not showing people's names. Okay, that's pretty cute. There's apparently Transformers knockoffs called. Are they just called these things? They're called deformations, I guess, and they turn into popsicles. Their robots turn into popsicles. That's cute.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people who just collect.
Anyways, unrelated to everything else, I feel really bad for Sixth Doctor fans who were just trying to listen to Sixth Doctor audios and had all that happen. I can't imagine what that was like. I will not say anything more. Yeah. Oh, you can turn that fan back on. It's actually way hotter than I thought without it. Yeah, you should listen to the Doctor Who audios with Charlie. Not the Charlotte Pollard adventures. It's just shit. It's just shit. Don't listen to the Charlotte Pollard series. It's shit, and it's never going to get an actual ending, and it doesn't need an ending. It's just stringing you along and torturing Charlie in ways that don't even make sense, and it's just bad. Don't listen to that. But do listen to Charlie and the Eighth Doctor traveling around. It's fun. It'll also rip your heart out and stomp on it, and also some of them are really shit, but some of them are good, and those ones are really good. Then there's the shitty ones. Yeah, we have a little line break. We're on page 56. When I was finally able to climb off of the platform, I fell on the deck. But by the end of that cycle, I was almost back to normal. Again, we don't know what a cycle is. We don't know how long a cycle is. It doesn't mean a day. Doesn't mean a week. Doesn't mean a month. We don't know. We don't know. And this is, again, basic fucking information that you are required to convey. There's one scene. I think it's an actual scene in Farscape. I don't remember. Might have just been Dargo by himself, but it was a silly scene where it might have been John and Dargo trying to see if a microt is faster than a second. Because in Farscape, there's aliens. They use alien words for things. A microt is pretty much equivalent to a second. John, I don't think he had a fucking watch with him. He has to just estimate everything, because I don't think he had a watch.
Yeah, it was Dargo, because Nippy Pippy.
Yeah. No, that was afterwards. That was a different scene. And that's so interesting linguistically, because that means Luxons can't say S sounds. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, you have to, if you are writing a sci-fi or a fantasy series, you're going to say words like cycle instead of day, month, year, etc., you have to tell us what that is equivalent to. and simultaneously trying to claim, oh, well, it just makes sense for Murderbot not to explain that, but then also yelling at the audience, it's not supposed to be realistic, it's just a story. You have to fucking pick one. Either it makes sense for the character not to explain that, so it's not going to explain that, or the story doesn't have to make sense because it's just a story and not a documentary. Pick one. Either fucking way, the correct answer is that you, as the fucking author, do in fact just need to tell us. Just tell us. How long is a cycle?
Or better, show us.
Either fucking or. Just tell us. Let us fucking know. How long is a cycle? Is that equivalent to a day? It doesn't have to be 24 hours, but is it their equivalent of what they call a day? Because a cycle throughout all of science fiction history has been used for so many fucking things. It can literally mean a certain amount of hours. It can mean a daytime cycle for whatever planet you're on. It can mean 24 hours based on Earth, wherever the fuck you are. It can mean a year. It can mean a month. It can mean millions of fucking things. So you cannot just throw it around as though it has one defined fucking meaning when you aren't even using it in a way that makes it explicitly clear what it means. Because we get told it was 7 cycles between one place and another in space. Do they have faster than light travel? We know they're going through wormholes in some undescribed way, but that doesn't tell us anything. Is it taking a week to get between places, or is it taking more than half a year? It could be either, because we're given no fucking indication of exactly how much time has passed, not in how Murderbot is behaving or anything else. As far as the writing is concerned, that chunk of time just didn't fucking happen. We're just going from one to the other and pretending that there was time in between, but zero indication of it. So, but by the end of that cycle, I was almost back to normal. Again, we just need a basic explanation for how long a cycle is. Like, even just tell us how many hours it is. Just tell us that. Especially because Murderbot is so fucking precise about telling us, oh, it was 35,000 hours ago that blah, blah, blah. Does it make sense for it to tell us that, but not
days?
Literally. Does it make sense for Murderbot to tell us it was 35,000 fucking hours between X and Z event, but not just to simply tell us how many fucking hours are in a cycle? No, it doesn't. It doesn't fucking make sense. And even if it did make sense for the character, it's not a documentary. It's a goddamn story. And you as the author are required to do the bare fucking minimum to give us the fucking information we need to understand this world. How long is a cycle is basic fucking information. That is non-negotiable. You have to tell us how long that is. You cannot just leave us to guess, especially with so many fucking things in Martha Wells novels. How long it is changes depending on the scene, depending on what the fucking plot requires in that exact moment, with zero regard for anything that came before or after. That's the first complaint I have here. Second of all, when I was finally able to climb off the platform, I fell on the deck, but by the end of that cycle, I was almost back to normal. Again, this is just ableism. Murderbot has literally had its arms chopped off, and then each of those sections were chopped into smaller pieces. Its knee and elbow joints completely and utterly fucking removed, and then they were all attached back together in a botched surgery where it was still bleeding after the surgery was successfully completed. And we're supposed to pretend that it's magically back to normal after however long a cycle is? And then this is never ever brought up again ever in the series as, anything that could cause problems or any kind of disability or even basic chronic pain. No, it's just back to normal because 1, 2, 3, these 4.1 pages, they may as well not exist. There's no severity. There's no seriousness here. You should all go read Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. I mean, I'm going to read that when I'm done this whole shit, so just so you can all see exactly what Martha Wells literally will tell you herself was her direct inspiration for making this. So she decides to have Murderbot's limbs, all of its limbs, not even just one, all of them be chopped off. And then it's magically back to normal and never experiences any problems or complications from this botched fucking surgery that literally wasn't even done correctly ever again. Even though it's under all the fucking stress of literally having to suffer through the agony of all of this from literally being chopped to pieces because it wasn't given pain medication or anesthesia. And we're supposed to pretend that, oh, yeah, there's no complications whatsoever. It's perfectly healed. Doesn't exist. Because Martha Wells hates disabled people. She especially hates physically disabled people and addicts, but she hates physically disabled people, which means none of her characters are ever actually allowed to become physically disabled people. The fucking new summary for platform decay, which is literally just another word for enshittification. If anybody didn't know that. She's literally naming the newest Murderbot book Enshittification. The newer summary for that was released somewhere said something Murderbot's hand. And it's like, is that a typo? Or is Murderbot...
Their lives in its hand.
Yeah, their lives are in its hand. Hand singular. And it's like, are you fuckers having typos in your official summaries now too? Or is Murderbot actually going to become physically disabled forever? Like, what's going on there?
As a response
Yeah.
to book 5, which came out 3 years ago by the time this thing will come out.
No, it was 5 years ago. That was in 2020.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah. The first thing I did was wash off all the blood and other assorted fluids in the bathing facility attached to the med system bay. So, I guess that confirms that yes, Murderbot was literally being forced to lie there after being chopped to pieces and was just lying there for hours at the minimum in its own fucking blood. Hours plus whatever the fuck a cycle is. Literally just lying there, covered in its own blood, lying in a puddle of blood. And this is not presented as a goddamn horror story. This is not presented as, like, horrific medical abuse. Just not torture. It's just totally chill. Again, as I pointed out, I keep saying, this has only taken up 4 pages so far. Like, not even 4 pages. We're supposed to be breezing past this, not thinking about this at all. Whatsoever. And if we do think of it, we're supposed to think of this as a positive experience that we are supposed to then compare to gender-affirming surgery. That's literally what the fandom will literally lie to people about, and literally they just keep saying that shit over and over and over again. This fandom has like 5 jokes, and they're all horrifically bigoted, and they just keep making them over and over again like they think they're the most clever person in the entire fucking world. Security ready rooms had facilities where I could clean off the blood and fluids after a fight or a repair, but I had never used a facility meant for humans. At least this...
Even in the week that you were on a cargo transport?
Yeah. Art had good ones, with the recycled cleaning fluid that was so much like water it was hard to tell the difference without a chemical analysis. You could adjust the temperature to make it warmer, and it smelled good. I smelled like a clean human afterward, and that was just odd. And it's like, okay, so again, this is being framed as, ignore the torturous surgery. Murderbot got to take a warm shower, so that makes up for everything. It shouldn't even make up for anything, because you didn't notice anything horrific going on there, did you? Just focus on the nice warm shower. That's what we should focus on.
Nice shampoo and body lotion.
Mm-hmm. The fine hair that was coming up in patches in various places was strange, but not as annoying as I had anticipated. It might be inconvenient the next time I had to put on a skin suit. But humans with hair seem to manage with a minimum of complaint, so I figured I would too. again, we don't know what the fuck a skin suit is. We don't know. Because the first book was implying it might be literal artificial skin that Murderbot takes on and off and puts over its metal fucking parts. Because it was very clear that Martha Wells had no idea what the fuck Murderbot was even supposed to look like in book 1. Yeah. So, again, the thing that I was coerced into, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. That's not the same thing as consenting and actually enjoying it. And again, this is just trying to make us not actually think it's a problem that it was coerced into all of this shit in the first place. Because, maybe you said you didn't want to do that thing, but, well, it's not as bad as you thought it would be, huh?
Just unending agony.
Literally. The change in code had also made my eyebrows thicker and the hair on my head a few centimeters longer.
As compared to
Exactly. Cardboard says, as compared to what? Because literally, we were not given any explanation. Does Murderbot have my hair length right now? Was this Murderbot's default hair length? We don't know. We're just told it's a few centimeters longer than it was before. A few centimeters is like this much. What was it at before? Is it now out to here, but still like a buzz cut? Just like a longer buzz cut? We don't know. We're never told. Was it down to here, and now it's down to here? Again, we don't know. This is an anti-description, as I fucking coined for Witch King. It's a description that doesn't tell you anything, because I think I said this before, as the other person who made a video just pointing out a whole bunch of weird, just bad writing shit in the series is, we will not get told what XYZ character looks like, but then we'll get a anti-description of character Y, and we're told, character Y is taller than character X. But we don't know how tall character X is. We've never been given any goddamn context for how tall character X is. So we're just told things in comparison to other things.
Other characters
Huh?
That was a comparison specifically between 2 other characters who literally never got physical description.
Yeah. We're just told, this thing is XYZ compared to a thing that was never described. So we're told that Murderbot's hair is a few centimeters longer, but we don't know how long its hair was to begin with. And again, you notice the complete lack of description of this hair, including the complete lack of description of the hair that's growing on its body. You probably can't see my arm here because I have the camera set to low quality, but this would be the perfect time to tell us that the hair on its arms and stuff that's sprouting up, it's dark. It has black eyebrows, black hair. But again, she doesn't tell us these things. She doesn't tell us these things because she wants plausible deniability. She wants to be able to tell everybody, yes, my protagonist is a non-binary black person because I'm so progressive. Give me your fucking money. Without actually putting it in the book, so that she gets to then literally scream from the rooftops that everybody should love and worship Apple TV and hand them all their grocery money while they are whitewashing and cis-washing Murderbot into a literal white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. Alexander Skarsgård. Huh?
Being enslaved by them.
Literally. They made the Murderbot TV show about a cis white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. The fucking Nazi ideal. Being enslaved by a diverse group of black and brown people who then have to be rescued because they're incompetent by the white man that they have enslaved. They literally turned it into reverse racism and white slavery. And Martha Wells is literally overjoyed with this and literally cannot stop telling everybody how happy she is for this and telling you to spend your grocery money buying a fucking Apple TV subscription to reward the company, the giant mega corporation that's known for being evil. Even though this is supposed to be anti-capitalist robots in space, she will not stop telling everybody, spend your money and reward them for whitewashing my fucking character and cis-washing my fucking character and turning the entire thing into literally just reverse racism. Literally, white supremacy. inaction. White supremacist fucking propaganda. Blah blah blah. The change in code had also made my eyebrows thicker and the hair on my head a few centimeters longer. I could feel it, and it was weird. And it's like, that's just making it more confusing. What do you mean you can feel it? You couldn't feel your hair before. Does that mean Murderbot literally had 0 hair on its head before? Because we were told it did have some hair on its head. So what do you mean you can feel it? Because even if you just have stubble up here because you've removed the guard, you can feel it. In fact, I keep my hair this length instead of the stubbly length because that isn't soft. This is soft. That just catches your hand. What do you mean you can feel that? What do you mean you can feel your hair? And again, this is just shit that doesn't make sense. I went to Art's rec space and used the treadmill and the other machines to test myself, making sure my weapons were still functioning correctly and my aim wasn't off. I didn't test fire them, as Art let me know that it would be that would set off the fire protection system if I did. I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. I told myself I still looked like a sec unit without armor, helplessly exposed, but the truth was I did look more human. And now I knew why I hadn't wanted to do this. It would make it harder for me to pretend not to be a person. And it's like, there's so many fucking mixed messages here, because we're not actually supposed to think that Murderbot being coerced into this was bad. We're also not supposed to just actually understand that Murderbot is a human who has been socially and legally dehumanized, including brainwashing itself into thinking of itself as being subhuman. And then it's like... And then we're also saying, oh yeah, it actually did need to disguise itself, otherwise it would instantly be murdered by a lynch mob that Martha Wells didn't actually bother to edit into the fucking document, even though it would have been effortless. And then we have another line break. And again, this is more victim blaming right here at the end. It would make it harder for me to pretend not to be a person. This is victim blaming, and this is slavery apologism, and saying that it's actually not Preservation Ox's fault for dehumanizing Murderbot, because actually, Murderbot was the one really pretending not to be a person. So if you think about it, Murderbot fooled them. That's what this is saying. That's what this is saying. That it was totally fine for Preservation Ox to pretend they didn't know it was a person, because Murderbot was also trying not to let them find out it was a person. So they're not actually bad slave owners, as in bad and slave owners. There's no such thing as a good slave owner. They're not actually bad people, because they just fell for Murderbot's tricks too. That's what this is here for. And we have another line break. We exited the wormhole on schedule. As soon as we were in range of the transit ring, Art stretched its reception and picked up the destination info packet for me, which included a more detailed map of Ravi High Rao. Rotating the map to look at it from every angle didn't jog anything in the fragments of memory I had of that time. But it was interesting that Ganaka Pit wasn't marked anywhere. I could feel Art in my feed, looking over my figurative shoulder again. And again, a thing that Murderbot has never fucking consented to, and is just being forced to accept because it doesn't actually have a choice in it. And then people insist, oh, this is so beautiful. It's so awesome how Art is constantly invading Murderbot's personal space, including its literal personal mental space, and literally doesn't actually give it the option to say no to anything. I checked the timestamp and saw the map had been updated multiple times since the time period of my incident. They took it off the map. That's just random dialogue thrown in there. No formatting at all. Is this unusual? Art asked. It dealt only with star maps, and removing something from one of those was kind of a big deal. That's a lie. This is a lie. Art is lying through its fucking metal plating once again. I have to just keep stressing that. Everything Art is doing in here is literally just to manipulate and lie to Murderbot. That's a lie. Art knows this is not normal. It doesn't need to be lying, but it is, because it's a sack of shit. And the fact that Martha Wells is lampshading the fact that it's a person, a horrible person, by calling it asshole, in its literal fucking nickname, that doesn't change the fact that she's still portraying it as a good person. Just because you lampshade the problems in your writing doesn't mean that the problems aren't still problems. You can't just say, yeah, I know this character is an asshole, ha ha ha. It doesn't change the fact that you're still asking us to worship them and pretend that they're a good person. We're supposed to just be totally fine with everything art does. I don't know if it's usual or not, but it makes, and again, the dialogue. It's just terribly formatted. Again, we're just getting dialogue at the very start of the paragraph without any lead up. I don't know if it's usual or not, but it makes sense if the company or the clients wanted to conceal what happened. If the company wanted to continue to sell contracts for sec units to other mining installations, concealing the fact, or at least obscuring the fact, that fatalities had occurred was important. Maybe, and again, this is just more continuity bullshit, because, like, you remember in the first book, we're told that, the company is so dedicated to the truth because we're just doing corporate propaganda and saying that, yeah, corporations investigating themselves always get to the truth. You can trust them. We're not supposed to be, like, criticizing that or anything. That's not why we're doing that here. We're just told that the company is lying about it. That's because that's just how the plot works, not because we're actually criticizing corporations. I have to put plot. That needs to go in quotation marks, because it's not actually a plot, as you'll find out. Maybe instead of a legal battle, the company had paid out on the bonds quickly under the condition that the client minimize details about the incident in the public record. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. So they're paying you the fucking money that they owe you, but also they're adding caveats onto that? I thought little dinky planets like Preservation can just get a court order anywhere. This doesn't make sense. Again, it's just basic shit. This is basic shit. And it doesn't make sense. This hadn't been a situation like Greycris and Deltfall, where there were multiple parties involved and the company was all over the news feeds trying to generate sympathies for itself. And it's like, it's very clear she had to throw that in because somebody said that doesn't fucking make sense. No, that's just a shitty excuse for the bad writing. Art pulled more historical info, searching the pit and service installation names that were listed. Ravi Hyrel had originally been held by a number of companies with mining rights to different areas of the moon's interior. But over the past 2 system years, we successfully established that a system year is a concrete fucking thing, because that's how that shit works. A company called Umro had bought out some of the claims, though many of the original companies were still operating as contractors. None of the names sounded familiar. I'd have to figure out where Ganaka Pit had been before I could go there. I would have been transported there as freight, and there weren't any memories of the trip, partially erased or not. Also, the problem of Murderbot's memories, again, that's just a magic wand that does anything the plot requires it to, just like hacking does, just like, all of the magic in the books of the Raxura. It does whatever is required for the plot. And Witch King. Murderbot's memories, they will either be as clear or hazy as is required in the moment. We will never actually be given a basic rundown on what it remembers. It's just going to get revealed to us when it happens in the story, so that we never have any fucking idea what to expect. It'll just be whatever is required in the moment to make the quote-unquote plot, quote-unquote, move forward. Again, all of the magic shit, including all of the hacking, it's all just pulled out of a hat. It doesn't have any fucking reference. It has no place in time. It's just floating around whatever is convenient for the quote-unquote plot. I started to search through the rest of the info packet looking for schedules. I would have to get a shuttle from the transit ring to Ravi Hyrel Port. That would be tricky. Well, the whole thing would be tricky. From the information on the shipping schedule, only people with employment vouchers or passes from one of the mining installations or support services were allowed to board the shuttles. There was no tourism, nobody coming and going without official authorization from one of the companies or contractors on the moon. Since I wasn't a person and I didn't have an employment voucher, I would have to hack my way into one of the supply shuttles. ... That ... It's really random. Art was still pulling data from the station feed. I have a suggestion, it told me, and displayed a set of personal advertisements. Yeah, this is not helping in any way. The allegations of Art secretly being a villain and the fact that Art is just manipulating and torturing Murderbot for fun because it's bored. So, again, the very paragraph above here is that all Murderbot has to do is hack its way into a supply shuttle. A thing that is effortless, because apparently everything that's not the company is a cakewalk in comparison for how easy it is.
Because the company defends its data so...
Yeah, the company is actually the best data defenders ever. So everything else is so easy in comparison. So all Murderbot would have had to do here is hack a shuttle and get a shuttle ride. Art's about to make everything so much worse and just unnecessarily complicated and putting Murderbot in unnecessary danger and stress for no reason except Art's bored. Art's bored, so we have to go along with everything it says. We were literally just told that the solution is all Murderbot has to do is hack a shuttle, and shuttles are not living ships. They're just regular actual cars. They're space cars. It just has to hotwire a car, not even that. Just has to say, hey, open your door for me. Let me in. And by saying your, that's not actually a living ship. It's just a regular spaceship, non-living ship. It's not an actual person. It literally just has to get in a shuttle and go get a free ride. A thing it can do in like 5 seconds instantaneously. But Art says, I have a suggestion. And it told me and displayed a set of personal advertisements. I had seen these in the feeds at Port Free Commerce and the last transit ring, but hadn't paid attention. Art highlighted one that was a job listing for a temporary position as security for a technologist group on limited contract. What? I asked Art. I didn't understand why it was showing me this. And if this group hired you, you would have an employment voucher for travel to the installation. And again, the terrible dialogue. Hire me. Period. That's not a question. Just hire me. I had more contracts than I can remember. I mean that literally. A lot of them were before the memory purge, but none of them were voluntary. The company pulled me out of storage, showed me to the client, then packed me into the cargo hold. Have you lost your mind? My crew hires consultants for every voyage. Art was impatient that I wasn't complimenting it yet on its great idea. The procedure is simple. Like the fucking torture you just put it through that you literally fucked up? For humans and augmented humans, yes. I was stalling. And again, Martha Wells is bad at writing, so instead of actually addressing the basic statement here of that is so much more complicated and needlessly dangerous than me literally just hacking a fucking car. No, instead we are instantaneously going along with this and not acknowledging that literally all it has to do is hack a fucking car. We're just going along with it instantaneously and acting like this is the only fucking possible solution because Art suggested it. So we have to go along with it because Art is always right and Art is bored, so let it torture Murderbot. It's fine. I was stalling. I would have to interact with humans as an augmented human. I know that's what altering my configuration was supposed to be for, but I had imagined it taking place from a distance, or in the spaces of a crowded transit ring. Interacting meant talking and eye contact. I could already feel my performance capacity dropping. It will be simple, Art insisted. I will assist you. Like that literal botched surgery it just did on Murderbot that literally left it in agony and bleeding.
Don't you love how that sentence from book 2, written in 2017/2018, perfectly mirrors the exact same description we're now getting for book 8?
Yep.
Oh no. Eye contact with people I don't know.
Yeah.
As though I don't do that literally every single book.
And then the next is just sarcastic prose. Yes, the giant transport bot is going to help the construct sec unit pretend to be human. This will go well. And then it's another line break. So, again, it's just shit writing. Nobody's acting in a way that's remotely fucking logical. Like, literally, we were literally just... She didn't have to tell us that all Murderbot has to do is hack a shuttle. She chose to tell us that information. And then immediately just say, nope, actually, Art wants to do something else because it's bored. It's literally just doing this shit because it's bored. It's literally just putting Murderbot through shit for entertainment. And making Murderbot's life so much more difficult and dangerous than it needs to be. And also, it's still lying. And it will continue to lie to Murderbot throughout the entire rest of this book. And we're never supposed to be upset with it for lying or notice that it was lying. How many more pages till the next chapter? Many. For this form of fucking shit. It's so many pages. Look how many pages are there until the chapter ends. This is a long chapter for this shitty little book. When you're active reading and doing this shit. Like, again, as I keep saying, we're supposed to be breezing past all of this shit that we've just been talking about for 2 hours now and not actually taking in any of the things actually happening. We're just supposed to be going off of the vibes, which is what everybody does, which is why they insist that Art and Murderbot have a perfectly healthy reciprocal relationship and not just outright fucking abuse from Art from the very first fucking instant it set metaphorical eyes on Murderbot. Anyways, I would like to do other stuff. So we're on page 60. Art just fucking tortured Murderbot for fun and is now literally, instead of Murderbot just being able to hack a shuttle, a thing that is actually morally neutral because the shuttles are not living ships, instead of Murderbot simply being able to hack and sneak its way over, Art is fucking coercing it and Martha Wells is just acting like this is the only fucking option, into putting itself on all of the goddamn systems, putting itself as a record here, exposing itself to people needlessly, very specific people who will see it and be able to say, hey, yeah, that person was here. All of this shit for no fucking reason, just because Art is bored. And we're just supposed to, we are not supposed to notice that this is taking what should be a simple in and out, just hack the fucking shuttle and sneak over. We're not supposed to notice that that was an option. We're supposed to pretend that, yeah, sneaking, pretending to be a blah, 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 putting yourself in a situation where you will be re-traumatized because you will be reliving the slave and owner fucking shit, where you'll be forced to be acting as a meat shield once again for slave owners. We're just not supposed to notice that it literally didn't have to do this shit and that Art is just fucking forcing it to. Anyways, yeah. Watch these fucking videos in order. I'm very tired of people watching only one at random and then complaining that I'm not talking about the shit that is in all the other fucking things. What?
That they're complaining because they don't have the context. And
Like,
decided to
you can't just pick this video and then complain about not having the context of all the shit that's in the other videos. I give you the transcripts for free. You can even download them. There's no excuse for this shit. They will all be linked in the fucking description, and you can also just click on the icon, which is somewhere over here, or maybe it's on that side if it flips it, and just search in live read Murderbot and just pick the first one. Come on, people. All right, bye-bye.